Hello, Poland. One of our great allies. President Duda, Prime Minister, Mr. Mayor, to all the former ministers and presidents, as well as mayors and Polish political leaders from all across the country. Thank you for welcoming back to Poland.
So here it is. It's actually pretty much insane in Congress because gas prices are starting to rise again. Democrats are working on a new bill. The plan will prevent prices from increasing any further, and it will provide financial relief to the millions of people. But the thing is that Democrats must gain support from the Republicans, everybody, in order for this bill to pass. The Gas Buddy Petroleum Analysis has told CNN and Yahoo News that it's a question of when, not if, a gallon of gas will go back above $4 a gallon. Now, motorists are going to start getting squeezed more so in late February, and the next 3 weeks could be a bit more of a baked bag. Now, Dahan, who works for Gas Buddy, has said that he plans to have breaks in production at refineries as part of the reason, everybody, for a rise in prices. He said we have a heavy amount of refinery turnarounds, and it's going to start here in the next couple of weeks. It's going to lead to a diminished amount of gas supply. According to AAA, the national average of retail gas is $3.41 compared to $3.10 a month ago. Household budgets in the Golden State, which are already stretched thin as prices soar for everything from rent to eggs, are being pummeled by monster gas bills. Southern California Gas Company and Pacific Gas Electric have began warning customers that they would see higher bills after the wholesale price of gas hit record highs. But reality didn't sink in for many customers until their bills started arriving later this month. Wholesale prices for natural gas in the West were 300% higher in December than they were in January. And since December, prices have plummeted and customers won't see that reflected in their bills until late February or even early March. In other words, it's going to be very tough for people to get their Social Security and stimulus increase, and it's hard for them to realize that when everything in the world is going crazy. Because even Gavin Newsom has called for a federal investigation into the wholesale price of natural gas, asking the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to look into whether market manipulation or anti-competitive behavior or other activities are driving these ongoing elevated prices in the West. Utilities generally buy and store gas in the summer when prices are lower. Then they tap into the reserves in the winter. But for this year, it's kind of a bit different because data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration show that the SoCal gas daily inventory began to fall in November, a steeper rate than the average of the previous 5 years. Because according to analysts, if SoCal Gas had saved those reserves for later in the winter, the company could have offset some costs for customers. But lawmakers are trying to address this issue. Democrat Senator Raphael Warnock has joined colleagues in Democratic Congress to reintroduce the big oil windfall profit tax act to crack down on profiteering by big oil, in return the industry's excessive gains to the working people. He said in a news release, "I'm proud to support the Big Oil Windfall Profits Tax Act because the wealthy oil corporations need to be held accountable for profiteering off of the hardworking Americans. This bill will combat corporate greed from large oil companies that are reporting record earnings and provide economic relief to the working families across the nation." The 5 largest publicly traded oil companies hauled in at least a pre-tax profit of $265 billion, helping people only themselves. We have a ton of news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI. Here is a ton of news about the fourth stimulus payment, folks, that you have to know and that you have to realize. Claim this stimulus before it's too late. The president is also placing an emphasis on reducing the deficit, which is the gap between what the nation spends and what it takes in. This is in order to blunt Republican criticism that the $1.9 trillion relief package has left the U.S. economy worse off. Strong job gains over the past 16 months have increased total incomes and led to additional tax revenues. That means that this fiscal year's budget deficit will decline $1.5 trillion, much better than the $1.3 trillion that was initially forecasted. Folks, we have a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI. Continue watching this video because you definitely don't want to miss out on this. President Biden is signing a new executive order, and the Biden administration has released a new announcement regarding stimulus checks. The top Democrats are pushing for the fourth stimulus package to be passed soon, so we have a ton of good news on this. Federal and state legislation to send rebates or stimulus checks directly to Americans have been introduced. Top Democrats are pushing for immediate action to help the American people and U.S. Representatives Mike Thompson and Lauren Underwood have introduced the Gas Rebate Act of 2022, which would send monthly payments of $100 to Americans where the average gas price is higher than $4 per gallon. The program will begin to phase out for individuals earning more than $75,000 and couples earning more than $150,000, and phase out entirely for individuals with an income of more than $80,000 and couples earning more than $160,000 per year. In a statement announcing the proposed legislation, Thompson called it a common-sense policy solution to the financial burden that constituents are feeling. But not everyone agrees that a tax rebate limit the impact of high gas prices on the economy. Federal policy analysts have told CNN that tax rebates may not solve the problem of post-crisis supply chain constraints. State-by-state tax gas price variations reflect several factors, including local gas taxes and regulations. Oklahoma, for example, gas prices remained among the lowest in the country because they have relatively low taxes. And Connecticut is one of 3 states to pass a bill eliminating state gasoline taxes to offset increasing costs for consumers. The suspension will be in effect, and lawmakers hope that the move will provide some relief to consumers as they face rising prices due to a number of international dynamics. In addition to the tax break, the state has also eliminated some public buses statewide during the same period. Now, state attorney generals have joined the fight for broad student loan forgiveness, and this week, Attorney General from New York, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, and New Mexico wrote a letter to President Biden urging him to cancel federal student debt for each and every borrower. The attorneys said in a statement that they have seen the burden of student debt and what it can have for borrowers who fall behind in the payments. This includes wage garnishment and seizure of federal benefits, which President Biden said can ensure permanent relief by forgiving that debt. They stated restarting federal student loan payments rather than permanently forgiving them will only make matters worse. Now is not the only time for half measures, extensions, or patchwork solutions. Now is the time for decisive action. State attorney generals have previously fought for protections for student loan borrowers. Earlier this year, 39 of them reached a $1.85 billion settlement with major student loan companies. And now with Biden saying he will make a decision on student loan relief in the coming weeks, they're joining Democrats in Congress for pushing for broad relief for every federal borrower. Do you think that this is a good decision, folks? Tell me in the comments. Now, Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez told the Washington Post, "I don't believe in a cutoff, especially for so many of the frontline workers who are drowning in debt and would like to be excluded from relief." Recently released data from Elizabeth Warren's office found that while every amount of forgiveness will make a difference, the more the better.
Of the anniversary celebration and one of the chief architects of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Tom Harkin, he talks about it here, and that's appropriate. He talks about it everywhere. He's one of these champions for people he talks about his brother. That was your original motivation, I think. And we've had the pleasure of welcoming him to California on time and time again. And this is always his why, his purpose. So how appropriate today that you've taken such a lead.